right now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. We're taking a look at some really unsettling allegations against the city of Antioch, that's in California, and its police officers there. According to a lawsuit, text messages between officers from 2020 to 2021 showed their true colors, that they were disrespectful, homophobic, and racist. Many of the people filing the lawsuit say they were specifically mentioned in the racist text messages exchanged by as many, get this, as 45 officers in the Antioch Police Department. According to the lawsuit, here's one exchange between officers. One officer wrote, "So many black people," to which the other officer replied, "Bro, they all look the same." The follow-up response was, "Tell me about it. I feel like I'm at the zoo." Let's talk about it. Joining me now here on The Factor Uncensored, former HPD officer Sean Lacey, Smokey Phillips of the African American Sheriff's Deputies League, and pastor and journalist Dr. Ruth Olison, and former HPD officer Maurice Droffin. Glad to have you all here on The Factor Uncensored. So, Smokey, when you see comments like this, text messages, multiple text messages that were sent by law enforcement officers who have committed to serve and protect the community, including black people. When you see this, your thoughts on this?
My thoughts were that it reminds me of back in the 80s when I started in law enforcement, that type of behavior. We fought hard to change that mindset of certain officers or certain deputies that were employed in the department. But if you look in the lawsuit, you talk about how they describe blacks as monkeys and how we're going down to chase the gorillas. And even in that, when in George Floyd doing the protest, they talked about killing a big gorilla in George Floyd. And it's very disheartening that 40% of that police department, which consists of 110 officers, 40% of that department was either aware of it or knew about the texts, including the former white police chief who went down to Boise, Idaho, to be the police.
And is that part of the blue wall, protecting each other despite just how bad it is, how ugly it is, how racist it may be?
Yes, that is. It is, because someone should have said something. I'm sure the chief knew about it. Someone should have said, hey, this thing is going on and it needs to stop.
Sean Lacey, you're a former HPD officer. To see this happening in 2023, are you at all surprised?
I'm not surprised, but I expect more. At this point, I expect more. I expect that it's time to make a change. Here in Houston even, we're doing things right now to help make a change to situations like this, because we know it occurs. We know it occurs, but we have to make the change.
All right, Maurice, let's bring you in as a former HPD officer as well. Your thoughts on these text messages. And this is only one of the cases that we touched on today. There's another one, but let's focus on this one.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, first of all. I'm not surprised. I think the general public, as well as individuals involved in law enforcement, knows their internal culture needs to be addressed immediately. Unfortunately, what tends to happen with officers, especially officers who come in with no identity, they're trying to fit in. And it's very difficult to go against what you think you're supposed to be a part of. So when you hear things or you see things that should be addressed immediately, unfortunately, some officers tend to pull back because they don't want to feel like they're not a part of something. A lot of officers get in fairly young, 21, 22, 23 years old, and they're not coming in with an identity. So now with focusing so much on trying to fit into a culture that you're not even aware of what you're even doing in the first place, you tend to just keep your mouth shut. And the culture itself teaches you to kind of just keep your mouth shut, tuck your tail between your legs and just go. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with the general public, that mindset carries out to the street, which ultimately creates dysfunction. And things like this, it's not uncommon that this continues to happen. It's not by coincidence. These incidents continue to happen, and it's going to continue to happen if law enforcement doesn't immediately shift the internal culture.
And Dr. Ruth, Maurice brings in a very important point that we don't hear very often. When officers come in without an identity and they want to be a part of something, and so when they see something, they don't say anything and they don't get involved, they just keep their mouths closed or go along with it.
And that's a problem. That's a problem. The theme is to protect and to serve, and that includes all people. And listen, W.E.B. Du Bois said in 1903, the problem of the 20th century is the color line. We are 1/4 of the way, almost, through the 21st century, and we're still dealing with the same issues. Because see, laws, you can legislate, you can change laws, but the problem with people is in the heart. And each individual has an issue with race. I mean, we have racial problems in our country, and we need to look at it. We need to look inside our hearts. And a lot of people, police, pastors, individuals need to look at the darkness inside their hearts and how you look at another person. Every person is a person made in the image of God. And people who do not recognize that are going to have hell to pay. Now, that's just the way it is. We would have such a much better society if people just did what they're supposed to do and respect other people.
Unfortunately, they won't. We want to thank you all for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored. There's still a federal lawsuit involved with this, and we'll continue to follow it here on The Factor. Still